I'm Nick Gallardo. I'm now currently in Benicia, across the water. But I went to high school here and went to high school in Benicia, so I ended up here. I played all the sports, but basketball was the one that stuck with me. And as I gained some height, it fit better. Baseball was too boring, football wasn't enough, and basketball was constant movement, which I needed to keep my mind occupied. For that 1 year being the year that we won, was just that. And that was my expectation, yeah, it was to win. And kind of to show the guys over in Benicia that they wouldn't let me play, that I had something in me. So for me, Myron was who I was seeking as a youth. Somebody strong, somebody, Jeff mentions him being yelled. I don't even remember that because I think to myself that I was used to people yelling. And so I just thought that was just, in my household, it was a way of showing love, being yelled at. Later in life, I found out that wasn't the case. And so with him, it was, what I admired most about him was that he was a physical, big guy, which I liked. A game that stood out in my mind and in relations with Coach was Calistoga. There was a kid that was freaking tall, and I'm like, gosh darn, I'm just me, and this kid seemed like 7 foot. And I'm like, Coach, what am I gonna do? He goes, don't worry about it. Look how he shoots. And the kid was so tall that he never had anybody block a shot. And he was like, you block a shot twice, and he's gonna wanna get upset with you. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. He said, watch how he shoots. He shoots from the waist up. He said, just hold out a hand. And so I did just that about 7 times at their court, and finally he started to take swings at me. And then he got kicked out of the game, and then we just rolled right past him. And I'm like, dang, this isn't basketball, this is psychological warfare. And I'm like, thanks, Coach. So that was probably one of my fondest memories with Coach, was that. Those little things that he would gift a person. And I don't remember him yelling at me. But then again, he could have been, and I just took it as like his love language. But it was like being on a drug, because it was like you'd go to play, and it was like, that's the moment. And what I seen in myself was actually coming to fruition from being here with these guys, and it was just a perfect fit. Even though I was the guy coming from the outside in, it just fit. And yeah, I didn't even care if I didn't start. So it was like, when I get in, I'm going to get in and try to compete with Jeff with getting shots. And that was more of my challenge. I've been living on my own since I was in 11th grade, so that caused me to have some challenges trying to support myself and try to go to college. And it was like, I think I went up to Napa and played around at that college, junior college up there for a minute, and it was like, I don't know if I can do both. So I had to make a decision, and I kind of gave that up. And I would play over at Garrettson and things around, but that was it. I just tried to stay afloat. That was the only reason I think I probably graduated. So, and I thank Mr. Turner for that too. He was a good help for reminding the teachers that I was having issues with, that he's the tallest kid in school, so just let him play. So when I came to the school, I had family in Rodale. My cousins were already going to school here. My dad graduated from school here, so I have family. And I would play, my cousin would take me up, which he opened Garrettson up a lot, and I would go over there and play. And then I became friends with like Wally and some of these other guys, and I kind of got in that way. So yeah, it was close-knit, but coming from Benicia, it was just the next level up from being close-knit. They got a few more people, but it was still the same. And I couldn't break that cycle. And I had gone through school all the way up to 9th grade there. So, and I couldn't break in. So here, because height was kind of needed, I got an opening. So when I came here trying to break in, I already knew there was house rules. And so with Coach Myron, seniors played first, unless there wasn't enough seniors. And Mark had that spot, and it was like, I was very cool with that because I knew I was going to get in. And once I got in, again, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, I knew who my competitors were, and I would, and it usually wasn't the other team. And so I would get an opportunity to show my wares. And so I accepted the position that I had, which was second string, which was okay. For that year, I'm going to probably say, so let's see, we got, I'm going to put Keith, and Ralphie was, and then you. So I was going to say that year it was the three, you were the top, and then, yeah, that's how I would rank it. It was more home for me. I always felt more at home over here than on my mom's. I consider that my mom's side, and this is my dad's side. So he was born in Rodeo, so it felt more home. And the ethnic combination of everybody I felt like I didn't stand out because of my skin. So I felt like I blended in. The only thing that I stood out was my height, so mostly the school part was a haze. Because I'd work nights and I'd come in like 12 at night and then try to sleep with Wally Linville as my roommate playing the drums all night long, and then happen to be down here. And that's when I became friends with Mr. Turner, who would always, just go ahead. So I was lucky enough my dad was the same name, and I'd always write myself in on my notes. Not perjuring, but I was using my name. But I would sign what I needed to get in. So I missed out on a lot of the first couple classes, sleep-wise, because I would sleep. And I think that's where I found my humor, was that I would always lock my head with a joke so that when I get woke in the middle of the class, I would have something funny to diffuse my problems, which was being asleep.
Want to play basketball?
No, it was that. That was my light at the tunnel. And so I seen that as my escape to get me to the next level, which I didn't know what it was going to be. But I knew it was the steps that I needed to take to get me to that next level of living. So I tended early on, it was to take issues, problems, and figure out a way to get around them. And basketball was the light that I went to. And I think where it got dashed is when whoever it was shot the bus out. And that was when it's like, oh, that's it. Senior year's gone. So all I had was my junior year. No one was coming to look at anybody the senior year. So it was like, that's a bigger uphill battle than I think I'm prepared for. I did try, but it was like, kind of stole the fire. So, that was a bum deal. Now, so the thing that made that team, what I believe, and not in comparison to the other year, different, was that how well everybody gelled together. And it was like a knowing without knowing. And it was like everybody had a place, and everybody fit the place well. And even with Myron using his paws to hit the floor, it still worked. And it was to me, it was a beautiful thing. It was like watching music on the computer, watching all the beats go up and down. It was like watching humans play that way, and it was like, to me, it was a thrill. For me, most schools would take that here as a negative, but to me, it was like, oh my gosh, this is going to blow them out of the water, because the sound effects in here, the acoustics it would freeze most people who weren't accustomed to it. And I thought that was a blast, especially for me playing against, in the same league as the team that I couldn't hardly play with, Benicia, and oh my God, that was a thrill. Yeah. Again, I was drugless during those years. But it was like being on some kind of an adrenaline high.
Your hometown?
No, it was great, because everybody on this side was the kids I went to school with also, and they were all like, yeah, he's, whatever. But oh yeah, I was pumped. I was pumped. That game, almost as much as when we won the last game against Vanden, I mentioned doing something kind of crazy. I was so adrenaline filled that I ran from half court to see how high I can get up on the backboard. And I went high enough to where my legs went under the board, and I went on my back. Meanwhile, everybody's, playing We Are the Champion, the song, and they're all it was pandemonium. I land on my back, and Myron comes over and says, "Are you okay?" And I said, I bounced up, and I said, "I didn't feel a thing." And it was because my adrenaline was flowing. And actually, I got off the ground the highest I've ever gotten. So it was like adrenaline. That was something that I always went afterwards, was that adrenaline high that I got. And I know others got it too. So to me, that was great. I would like to see everybody get together and have like a pizza and some beer or whatever. That would be great. And bounce off each other, because I know there's a lot of stuff I've forgotten, but little bits I get, and it's like the memory sparks.
Yeah.
So when we went to the next level that year, the sophomore or junior year, there was a kid who was the center who was a perimeter shooter. And again, I'm like, man, what the hell am I going to do with this perimeter guy? He's, I got to leave my area. And he's like, he really had no answers then, because the guy was, I can't even remember what the team was, but he was like 6'7", 6'8", and freaking all net. And it was like, that was disturbing. And in today's world, that'd be normal. But back then it was like, yeah, that was a sad moment. Myron teaching the art of elbows. And I actually thought about starting school on, instead of mixed martial arts, just using elbows. And he got into people's heads, and it's like, this is how you get a person out who's competing with you. You're constantly doing things where it's not noticeable. If you go for a rebound, you come down, you clear the field. And I think we were playing Dixon, and I took a kid's eyebrow out down here at the corner, going up for a ball and coming down, and I caught him with my elbow, and it was like, I didn't do it on purpose. I just came down with the intent to hold on to the ball, and it just so happens his eyebrow was underneath my elbow, and it went, and I just never forget them having to mop that stuff up. And then he wanted to fight. But lessons learned. I'm seeing a memory of me playing against him down here, and he was, it was all body, and it was all about positioning yourself to put the other person at a disadvantage, which for me, it was part of the art of the music. And I liked his music style as far as coaching, because that's how I was seeing it in my head. It was like everything was a rhythm. Even as you, Jeff, would run down and your hair would flow back because you had that, big fro. And it was like there was a flow to that even. It was like watching, Julius Erving, and it was like everything had that magic for me, and it was like that was the best. So these are the memories that I have, and I kind of cherish them, because that was a highlight that got me through my teens. Yeah, so I lost everything that I had, memorabilia from that time. But yeah, so I just have memories, and I have some good ones. But he had the tools. He had the knowledge, but then he had the players that he could put in motion,
Right.
so that he could use his tools as a coach, a teacher, and he did quite well. He did very well. So yeah, for me, I don't remember having a conversation outside the court with Myron. I did share a moment where I used to work at high school, or right after high school, well, through high school at the Bull Valley Inn, and he was there at the end of the bar with somebody, and I came in from the restaurant and opened the door, and I could see Myron. It's like, Coach! I was like excited. I hadn't seen him since the season before, and all of a sudden he went toward us. His head went into his shoulders, and it's like, uh-oh. So I backed out, went back into the dining room, and I came back 10 minutes later. He exited stage right, and it's like, oh, man. My last memories of Myron. And I think he probably had a lot of those. But that was my only experience with him after this.